we had a group of four like-minded friends, and we
Okay.
used to come every day on Google Meet, and we used to discuss, ask questions each other, the factual component amongst ourselves. So that audio-visual mechanism also helped in the recall bank. Fortunately, RBI releases result early. Only it takes only, I guess, 10 days. And so we had nearly 1 month of time to solely focus on phase two this year.
Hmm.
But as I said, that we have to be conceptually ready before the notification kicks in. I prepared for UPSC, and during that time, I prepared the answer writing part.
Hmm.
So I was ready with the intro, body, conclusion approach, the pestle approach, heading, subheading approach, pillars approach of writing the answers. It was just that from the pen and paper base, I had to practice on the keyboard typing base.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ixamBee. I have with me Mr. Utkarsh Sachan, who has cleared RBI Grade B Officer 2024. Many, many congratulations, Utkarsh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks actually for taking out time to share your insights into your journey of preparing for the exam. I'm sure it will be helpful to a lot of aspirants who are preparing and want to give the exam in the coming years. To give a brief background about Utkarsh, Utkarsh did his commerce graduation in commerce and then later on also did his master's in commerce. In between, he had been preparing for various exams, and this was his second serious attempt for RBI Grade B, and he has cleared it now. So we'll delve into his learnings of the previous attempts also and how he made sure that this year he made it through the final list. So, Utkarsh, first and foremost, since soon after your graduation, what made you think about RBI Grade B exam?
Yes, ma'am. So I graduated in 2018, and during that time in college, I worked in various societies. I worked in social entrepreneurship sector, etc., and that made me move towards UPSC Civil Services examination. I prepared for it being in Delhi, and I gave four attempts till 2022. But I couldn't qualify any of the stage every year, either by one question or by 2 or 3 marks. I missed the prelims cutoff. And since four attempts had been done, so I decided it's now time to move on from that circle and go for the next stage. So that's when I came in touch with the regulatory body exams. I remember in 2021, the AIR one of RBI Grade B was from our college. So I got to know more about it. And that's when I decided that UPSC had a good overlap with RBI and NABARD exams, ESI portion and the FM portion. Plus, I had commerce and accountancy optional during my UPSC preparation. So the FM portion was quite overlapping with it. And in SEBI also, most of the subjects, commerce and accountancy, companies act, uh, finance portion, management portion were overlapping. So it seemed like a good fit, as well as the sector interested me a lot. The financial and economic sector of India, economics was one of my favorite subject, and so I decided to start preparing for it. For SEBI, we had minimum eligibility as post graduation. So I thought it's good that I get enrolled in post grad as well, since 4 gap years had been there. So it would get me SEBI ready as well as private sector ready in case I'm not able to qualify regulatory body exams. Yes, ma'am. So that's my journey.
Yeah, very, very interesting actually. And so before we delve into the preparation for RBI, a few things that I noticed are very good. So Utkarsh, like being a graduate from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University is one of the very reputed college when it comes to the commerce and economics field. Um, you didn't think of private placement because you get very good placements from SRCC itself that time.
Yes, ma'am. So definitely it was one of the avenues which I thought of. But by the second year of college, I had participated in many activities,
Okay.
many social sector activities. I was part of Enactus, which had social entrepreneurship models, and we worked for the grassroots communities. So that kind of tilted my bent towards working for the public sector and public good. So UPSC seemed like the good fit at that time.
Great, great. Sounds good. I think well thought journey of which path you wanted to take. There was a lot of clarity in that sense. Um, and also, very good point that you mentioned that later on you decided to do MCOM, masters, because in a lot of, specifically, if I say a lot of government exams, uh, somehow just bachelor's in commerce is not does not make you eligible, so maybe a master's degree or an MBA degree. So a lot of exams that have come even off late
Yes, ma'am.
focused on the finance stream, whether in the insurance or the banking or specialist officers in the banking. They're focusing a lot on either a master's degree, MBA degree, or a professional degree like a CA and ICWA. So
Yes,
even despite doing a BCom from very reputed colleges like SRCC may sometimes not make you eligible. So it's a good career thought that way is to
yes, ma'am.
do the post graduation if you have a graduation degree from the arts or the commerce side.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
So great. That was a little longish discussion about the
Oh,
background about Utkarsh, but I thought I'll take this opportunity to tell students about how they can make those choices and also keep enhancing their skill sets either through the right kind of degrees or certification courses, because that's also important. So now coming to RBI, right? So you did say that your degree per se gave you a lot of edge over a lot of subjects, whether it was finance or uh, economics, because that you liked, and your UPSC preparation also gave you good insights into ESI subjects. But that's a little more focused towards phase two. So
ye-
before that, we have
yes,
to
ma'am.
crack the phase one, which
Yes,
is
ma'am.
your entry ticket to the phase two. And we interact with so many students, and many times we find brilliant students, great at finance, economics knowledge, and all, but they are not able to reach that level because they're not able to cross the preliminary round, which is focusing more on your aptitude subjects of quant, reasoning, English, and general awareness. So, what was your approach towards the first phase?
Yes, ma'am. So definitely, as per the selection ratio, phase one has the least success percentage, and it needs to be given ample amount of time. And the trickier nature of phase one is increasing in nearly all the IBPS and regulatory body exams, be it NABARD or be it RBI. So a certain set of time needs to be focused on that we are at least phase one ready. And I'm personally not very good at quant and reasoning subjects. I'm better at the analysis portion, the phase two portion, the analysis portion of the subjects. So for quant and reasoning specifically, I first tried to analyze the PYQs and got hold of the most important topics that had to be completed, and and the topics which I'm comfortable in. For example, in reasoning, I was comfortable in syllogism, equality, inequality, and critical reasoning section. My English is a bit good since I have been reading newspapers in childhood, and during UPSC preparation as well, I regularly read the Hindu newspaper, and in the regulatory bodies prep, I regularly read the Business Standard newspaper. So critical reasoning component was easier for me, and I felt that I can score in that component. Puzzles, I was not very good at. Even if I gave 8, 10 minutes to a puzzle, I was not able to solve it correctly. There were so many cases that were made. I was not very comfortable in that. So I focused on my strength based on the PYQ. I tried to attempt all other questions apart from puzzles in the exam, and that helped me in clearing the sectional cutoff of reasoning. Coming to quant, there were from the PYQ analysis, there were quadratic equation questions. And data sufficiency questions that were in good numbers, plus one DI. There are three DIs in quant section, and at least one can be done. One DI is usually easier. So I focused on these things. This year, the paper was trickier because the quadratic question we didn't have in the quantitative aptitude question. So I had to immediately switch to plan B. And the data sufficiency question I was not very comfortable in. So I immediately went to the DI section.
Mhm.
I I took the first DI, which I thought was easy, but I was not able to solve it. And there were only 10 minutes left in the quant section. And so I calmed myself down a bit for 5-10 seconds. And then I started working on the second DI. Fortunately, I was able to attempt that second DI, and that helped me in clearing the quantitative aptitude sectional part. So I'll advise the candidates over here to practice a lot of mocks. If you are not comfortable in quant and reasoning, try to give at least 1 hour to that. Prepare the basics of the most important topics as per the PYQ analysis, and then attempt hundreds of questions, 200s of questions on those topics. Coming to the English section, I was always comfortable in the English section, and I didn't do anything extra on that part. I simply gave a few marks on that and continued my reading of the daily newspaper. Now, the most trickiest section and the time in terms of time, the most amount of time that a candidate gives is the GA section, general awareness section. And the general awareness is getting trickier in terms of options, in terms of the size of the paper. We are not able to even read all the questions in those given time frame. So we have to be bit ready on that. Plus, the IBPS platform is not that user friendly like we give in our home setting. Our internet is good. Immediately, we are able to switch between the questions. But in the exam, when we switch between the question, there is a 1 to 3 seconds time lag. And so we effectively don't have that much time. We have 3 to 4 minutes less time. And we have to practice on the basis of that. So this year, what I did, I read a concise material and I tried to revise it multiple times. That was my basic strategy. And materials of nearly all the coaching institute are one and the same because they are all using the same source material. Be it the budget, it is the budget document. Eco survey, it is the eco survey document. PIB, it's the PIB. So material is not a very different person. It's only the formatting and the presentation. So what I'll advise the aspirants is go through 2 to 3 coaching materials, and whichever material you are most comfortable in, stick to it, and then try at least 4, 5, 6 revisions on that. There is a huge factual component in these papers, so multiple revisions helps in the good recall value.
Right,
So
right.
what happens in our objective portion is that an MCQ is there and we have the answer in front of us in those 5 options. It's only the recall value that we need to have, and that recall value can be built better by having multiple revision and giving so many marks. Give marks of I'll request candidates to give marks of all institute, all the free marks available. Take 1 to 2 paid test series as well, paid subscriptions as well, and give many marks. Here, what we also did was we had a group of 4 like-minded friends, and we
Okay.
used to come every day on Google Meet, and we used to discuss, ask questions each other, the factual component amongst ourselves. So that audio-visual mechanism also helped in the recall value. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, great. I think very well structured and answered all the 4 subjects. So, few things I'll bring out and ask you over here, and also repeat for the benefit of listeners here. So, in quant and reasoning, and why, and thank you for that detailed analysis, because rightly so, specifically if you are not from an engineering background, quant and reasoning tends to take more time. For the candidates. So I think that's a very, very insightful thing that you mentioned. One, that you did not rely on puzzles, because otherwise, when we talk about reasoning, that is something that's highlighted a lot, that you should be doing puzzles. But thank you for saying that out loud. It may not be everybody's strength, right? So it's very,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
important to look at the PYQs, previous year questions and papers, in detail to understand the type of topics that are asked and the level of questions that are asked, and then understand your strength area, spend time in understanding the basics concepts, and then practice a lot, right? And that's very, very important. And we try at our ixamBee to do that exactly, do certain conceptual lessons, then do PYQ based sessions and classes to help you see what type of and level of questions they come, and then practice at the chapter level, section level, and it's a subject level to give you enough practice. And yes, as much practice as you can do is uh, important. So don't stop at it. Keep practicing as much as you can. And there's a lot of learning that can be done from looking at the questions that you analysis actually of the test. I think I will also add that point, Utkarsh, because that helps to understand what you were doing right and where you can increase your speed with accuracy, and where you are lacking, so that you improve your strategy for those kind of questions. Another very good thing that I liked that you mentioned, Utkarsh, as a matter of fact, was you will still, despite all the preparation, you'll still uh, face situations where things are not going as per plan. So, like for Utkarsh in the quant, it did not go as per plan. The first DI wasn't cracking. The DS was not there. Quadratic quadratic equations questions were not there, and the trick lies in quickly calming yourself down, not giving into the stress and the pressure that time, and actually finding the next best way, because uh, choosing the right question and remaining calm is the trick over there in such situations. The cutoff is not really very high. You just need to crack for 3 4 questions correctly. But those 3 4 questions, reaching to those 3 4 questions is what can make the difference in that time. So I think a very, very important point, Utkarsh, that you mentioned, you have to quickly think, calm yourself down, and move to the best possible
Yes,
situation,
ma'am.
because you will face such situations no matter how prepared you are. So
Yes,
very,
ma'am.
very,
Just one thing to add. Since you mentioned the analysis part, that is very important
yeah,
because the analysis part will help us know which questions we are comfortable in the exam scenario.
exactly.
Yes, ma'am. And what I always say to everyone that if you are giving a 2 hour mock, it's not a 2 hour mock. It's
Yeah,
actually a 5 hours mock. That
right.
2 hour is the exam paper, then 3 hours has to go into
The
the
analysis.
analysis part. Yes, ma'am.
Very, very true, actually. And you cannot underestimate the power of doing the analysis, because just getting the score makes nothing, means nothing till you know what made you score well. Because maybe at times, sometimes you would have done it, just out of luck, some question. But till you analyze and see that was correct for a reason or not for a reason, you will not know if it will become your strength area or not. So
Yes,
that's very, very important point. And moving to the GA section, that's again very important because it also has the highest weightage. It can be scoring if you have the good recall value, and yes, no rocket science in it. The recall value comes with multiple revisions. There's no other way of cracking it. You have to remember a lot of factual stuff. There's no choice about it. You have to remember that, and it will only come with multiple revisions. This is a favorite query of students, and they're really confused about it. Although GA is a continuous effort, you have to read newspapers, you have to read any compilation also. And as you mentioned, what you are comfortable with, you can focus on. We also provide Bpedia as one of the compilations from all different sources, newspapers, PIB, different government publications and all. And our idea of compiling is focusing on regulatory and banking exam, given the pattern type of questions that come in. So, of course, anybody, you could go through and see which is comfortable to you. Like you mentioned, you were doing, and multiple revisions have to be done. So, for those multiple revisions, this is a certain set number of months that you focus on: 6 months, 8 months, 4 months, 2 months. What according to you is the right time?
Yes, ma'am. So again, PYQ analysis over is the key over here. What we can get from the PYQ analysis is that more than 80% of the PIB questions comes from the previous 4 months,
Yes.
and more than 90 to 95% of questions come from the previous 6 months. I
Mhm.
think that's the sweet spot, 4 to 6 months, depending on the time that the aspirant has. And that's the PIB part. Coming to the other GA part, like the newspaper compilation and the single liners like defense, summits, days in the news,
Days,
etc.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So that again PYQ analysis, we can get that 3 months is a good enough time. More than 80% question of the single liner type questions are from the last 3 months. That was my part. Plus, government schemes compilation, reports compilation, since both are very important in the phase two exam,
Yeah.
and NABARD phase one exam as well.
Mhm.
Government schemes and reports belong a huge chunk of the paper. And this year, the analysis, the circulars and notifications of the regulatory bodies.
Mhm.
Previously, they used to ask only in the phase two exam, but this year they also asked a few
Phase
questions in
one.
the
Yeah.
phase one exam as well. So have a so what I'll suggest is that when we are preparing for a month, prepare everything,
Mhm.
be it the phase two part or be it the phase one part. Ultimately, it will help us in either some other exam or in the phase two part, since we don't have much time gap between the phase one and phase two exam. It's only this year that we had more than 40 days. Last year we had only 21
20,
days, if I'm not
yeah,
wrong.
20 days
Yes, ma'am.
approximately.
So that's not enough time. So prepare holistically this thing. What I suggest over here, be QRE ready and phase two ready before the notification comes. In that way, because there is sufficient time gap between the notification and the phase one exam. And
Mhm.
notification is sometimes trickier. We don't know when it will come, how many seats will be there, if there's any change in syllabus or not. So, but QRE will always be there in most of the exams. Phase two syllabus won't be shifted so much. We'll always have that knowledge in mind. So this was my strategy. Between the notification and the phase one exam, GA can be tackled if we are preparing holistically. But we have to be QRE ready and phase two ready before the notification.
Okay. I think very, very good strategy overall, Utkarsh. I think so. That's very true. So if you are, you know, dedicatedly preparing and very serious, then you can't leave it to last minute, because this also is always there. This dilemma, you may say, that comes to mind: should we prepare till the notification certainty is there or not? We will waste our time, we rather do something else and all. So of course it depends. There are always choices, but if you made up your mind, that's a very good suggestion that we should be conceptually at least ready with phase two and even QRE
Yes, ma'am.
uh, before that, because then you're focusing more on practicing, revising, you will have enough time. And like Utkarsh mentioned, mostly you get 20 to 25 days between phase one and phase two, and that also half of it is spent in waiting for the result. uh,
Yes, ma'am.
if you are doing that, or if you plan to do that, then that takes away your time
Mm.
further. So we have to look at the opportunity cost of that time, uh, of every minute that we spend in thinking whether to start preparation or not. Um, very another good point was that government schemes is a recurring syllabus, you can say, or part or topic, whatever you want to call it, which will come across your phase one, phase two, and even interview, because it gives you enough fodder to speak about, the policies, economic uh, setup of the country, how government is taking decisions, why they are taking decisions, where it can be useful. So it gives you enough fodder, plus understanding to give answers and talk intelligently in the interview stage. So that is also something we should not try to compartmentalize, as this is for phase one, this is for phase two, this is for interview. Actually, it's a continuous preparation
Yes,
that
ma'am.
has to go on. So very, very well and nicely summarized, Utkarsh. So when you came to phase two, what I'm taking from you, from your strategies, you'd already conceptually prepared before. So how are you spending time between phase one and phase two for the phase two preparation, specifically focusing on the descriptive practice? How much practice were you doing for descriptive?
Yes, ma'am. So, as you rightly said, the few days after phase one goes into the result, thinking about the result, whether we crack or not. And the study is not very effective during that time. Fortunately, RBI releases result early. It takes only, I guess, 10 days. And so we had nearly 1 month of time to solely focus on phase two this year. But as I said, that we have to be conceptually ready before the notification kicks in. Speaking for myself, I prepared for UPSC, and during that time, I prepared the answer writing part.
Hmm.
So I was ready with the intro, body, conclusion approach, the pestle approach, heading, subheading approach, pillars approach of writing the answers. It was just that from the pen and paper based, I had to practice on the keyboard typing based,
Yeah.
and that's what I focused upon. I tried to write one answer per day before the notification, and so it's just half an hour time of your day, but it will work really good. It will give really good results because descriptive is the most scoring as well as has the most weightage in the phase two part, and preparation for descriptive portion also sometimes helps in the objective portion as well, especially in the FM section, because uh, management, for example, Maslow hierarchy theory, we'll write an answer on Maslow hierarchy theory. We'll get to know the hierarchy, and that same hierarchy will be asked in the objective section as well. So that will help over there as well. So even if you are not objective ready before the notification, get at least descriptive ready before the notification kicks in. So I practice one daily answer. I read the newspaper every day so as to increase my grammar part, part, and have minimal spelling errors. I worked on the writing speed a bit. So this year, what I tried in the phase two paper, that I tried to exhaust the full word limit of 400 word and 600 words in nearly all the question. So in both FM and ESI section, I tried to cover at least six questions out of the eight questions with the full word limit, full 400 word limit, full 600 word limit. But that was not at the cost of my grammar, my punctuations, and my sentence formation. I tried to have short, crisp, and focused sentences this year. I tried to write the answers in points so that it's easy for the invigilator to understand and give marks. So this was my strategy. Plus, one thing which I'll suggest to aspirants is to use the AI platforms like the Chat GPT, Google Gemini, etc. Uh, it's getting easier now to have your answers evaluated. Just whatever answers you have written, please put it on the AI platform. Just give the command to give you marks out of 10 out of 15 and help you in the grammatical error, etc. There are so many good apps like the Grammarly app, which helps us in better sentence formation in the grammatical portion. Make very good use of it, and that grammatical aspect really helps in increasing the marks in the English section. If I come to English descriptive section, I had a different strategy than most of the aspirants. Most of the aspirants first attempt essay, then Pressy, and then RC. I do actually complete opposite.
Okay.
I attempt first the RCs, then the Pressy, and at last the essay. But this is my own personalized approach since I'm comfortable in the essay topic. There
Mhm.
is always one topic which is either economic or social issues topic.
Right.
And I'm comfortable in those topics due to my background. So what I feel, even if at the end I'll have some less time, I can buckle up the essay part, maybe increase the typing speed a bit, or make the material concise. And even if I'm short of 50, 60 words, I have still completed maximum of my word limit. And I don't think that would affect my marks a lot. But if I come to RC, if I miss a single question, it will straight away cost me
But
my 10 marks.
yes.
So, and RCs are getting trickier in the RBI exams. For example, I remember in 2023 attempt, the RC was not straightforward. After reading each question, we had to again reread the RC. And then, even after then, we were not getting straightforward answer, and we had to think the answer on our own. It was an analysis-based questions.
Mhm.
So, if I wouldn't have attempted RC first, I would have definitely missed one or
Yes.
two question in the RC part. And I focused a lot on grammar this year, short and crisp sentences formation this year, and that has helped me. This has helped me in both the SEBI exam as well as IFSCA mains exam. I got second highest marks in both IFSCA English and SEBI English exam. RBI marks are not out yet, but my paper went good because of the English exam. And so we have average marking in the English exam for nearly all the aspirants. But if we perform good, we get a 7 to 8 marks edge from the average marking. And that 7 to 8 marks edge helps us in tackling the uncertainty of the interview a lot. So that was my strategy this year.
Okay, so I think a very, very well thought approach. It's definitely showing that you had put in a lot of effort to understand the pattern of the exams, the type of questions, and consistent practice. You're not waiting for last minutes. And I think the giving multiple exams gave you a lot of actual practice also apart from the box in approach. So uh, I think that a lot of practice is good. So as much time you have, depending on every different aspirants, depends on what background they're coming from, how much time they can give. But definitely, I think practice makes a lot of uh, plays an important role in your overall preparation. So quickly moving, Utkarsh, now to the interview stage. So was your interview preparation also something that was happening before notification or particular phase? Or is it something that you started thinking only after phase two?
The core interview preparation definitely started after the phase two results, but the process is somewhat interrelated in all the phases. Like I said, newspaper reading was a core component of my process. It helped me in nearly all the phases in the English portion, objective portion, descriptive portion,
Mhm.
as well as in the interview portion as well. For example, in this year interview, I was asked about the Silicon Valley Bank collapse that happened in 2023. And if I wouldn't have continuously read newspaper for some time, I wouldn't have answered that question. And it was a really healthy discussion that I had with the panel member. And so that's what the process starts. But the core prep definitely starts after the phase two results are out.
True, true. And in the actual interview, if I may ask, there are few typical things about your background. One non-engineering background is there. Although you have done your master's, but it was at a gap of few years. The good number of years gap is there between your graduation and post-graduation degree. Then you've also been a UPSC aspirant. No work ex overall since then. Did all this become a problem area in your actual interview?
Um, I'll take it actually in a positive note that I didn't have so many areas to prepare. Since my graduation was in commerce, my post graduation was in commerce, plus my UPSC optional was also commerce and accountancy. And the panel members did ask what I did in the gap year and what was my optional. And since my whole profile was commerce oriented, so my preparation, which could have been this much, got this much, and it helped me in keeping the core of the prep commerce and finance oriented. Yes, ma'am. So that helped.
Okay, so to the listeners, I will sum it over here. The questions will be asked. The difficult questions may be asked, but it's your approach to the answer that matters, and not exactly what has then, because you can't change the facts of your life. So it's the approach with which you reply that's more important. So keep it positive. Every situation has a benefit, and that's what you have to focus on, and not be scared about the gap years. You should have productively been using those gap years, and you should be able to tell about those. So yes, gap years is not a disadvantage until unless you make it so. No work experience is not a disadvantage unless and unless you make it so. Non-engineers also get selected. So few things that I'm highlighting for the benefit of listeners who are sometimes scared of these facts.
Yes, ma'am.
So Utkarsh, at your cost, I am taking the liberty to say all these things.
Definitely,
I
ma'am.
hope you do not mind.
No,
Uh,
ma'am, not at all.
but yes, so everything has a positive side, and that's what we should focus on. So Utkarsh, very, very interesting and detailed uh, conversation with you. I think I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's always good to get the perspective of the student of how they went through their journey, and it's always unique, despite of doing this from almost last 7 8 years. Every time we talk to a student, a unique point comes out, and that's the beauty. Every candidate has its own unique strategy of going about the exam and of cracking it. And the idea of here is to discuss as many as possible so that every aspirant can take what best suits them. And thank you, Utkarsh. Your answers reflected the hard work you've put in, uh, in understanding exams, strategizing it, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, and working on it. And I'm sure this will help a lot of listeners today. So thanks once again, and wishing you all the best for a very bright future ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for having me here. It was great interacting with you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.